want to thank Sruli. Sruli was standing by to give this talk, and I didn't know that I was going to be able to give this talk until about 10 minutes ago. So
kept us on his toes.
Yeah. So it's really.
And Hashem that I actually didn't prepare anything. Emes, like he's coming, right?
So I myself didn't know, and I have to say my wife is really great because I didn't even bring it up. I was afraid to bring it up because I didn't want to think chas v'shalom. She thinks that I'm really not putting her number one, and so I didn't even bring it up. And then she said to me, "You're probably hungry. You're probably hungry. Like you probably want to go and eat something now. Like right at the time that I would have to leave for this." And then I didn't want it to be like I was sneaking off, and then just during my dinner break I gave the shir. Do you know what I'm saying? Without telling her. And so I said, the truth is that right now I would give the talk. If I left right now, I could give the talk if you would want. And she said, yes, go and do it now. So it happens so organically and everything like that. But before we get into it, we're going to do a piece. And for me, this was an amazing piece. So I hope that you like it. And we're going to do something from Avraham HaMalach. And he's just like... He's flying in the stratosphere. It's just to read his Torahs. It's just like.
Who is he? Can you explain who he is?
Yeah, so you had the Baal Shem Tov, and the successor of the Baal Shem Tov is the Maggid of Mezrich. And the Maggid of Mezrich has a son who the greatest people in the world called the angel. And this is the son, Avraham HaMalach. And he wouldn't sleep, he wouldn't eat, he wore tefillin all day, and he kept the tallis over his head. And like I said, like when we open up this book, what does it mean to open up this sefer? It means that you're climbing under his tallis, and just like being able to see the universe the way he saw it. It's really such a privilege. It's such a honor. It's such an honor to open up this book and to read these words. And he reads the entire Chumash, or at least what I've seen so far. The entire Chumash, everything is a blueprint of what's going on Kabbalistically in the heavens. And that's what we're going to do. And you'll see he's zeroing in on the essential dynamic of creation. And I'll explain what I mean by that. You'll see. But it's like the more I read, the more I learn from this sefer, the more I see that it's almost like, in a way, almost like the Kotzker Rebbe. Like the Kotzker Rebbe like zeroed in, and he just thought like relentlessly about what the human condition was, until he could boil it down into the most direct, simple terms. It's like I see Avraham HaMalach doing the same thing, but he's focused on the essential dynamic of heaven and earth. And he's just zeroing in, and everything is about what is that dynamic. And so it's amazing. It's amazing because it's on the one hand, some of this is extremely hard to understand, but when you like kind of keep on hammering at it, you're back at this place of just how does the universe work? How does God work? So we're gonna go into it. I know I'm being very general right now, but we're gonna go into specifics. So. Okay. So let's just start off with the beginning of the parsha, and we'll go deeper and deeper, God willing. So it starts off with this thing like if you know what a Mobius strip is. Like a Mobius strip is if you cut a strip of paper and then you bring it together in a circle, but right before you bring it together in a circle, you flip this side over and then you connect it. So, like, imagine there are all different interesting properties about a Mobius strip. He doesn't talk about Mobius strips here. This is just me telling you. What is the Mobius strip? These are the offsprings of Yitzchak, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Yitzchak. So it's. I'll tell you something about a Mobius strip. If I were to just have a circular piece of paper where I didn't make a twist into it before I connected it, it's just like a bracelet. It's just like a circular piece of paper. If I were to draw a line on the outside, it would just be a line on the outside. There would be no line on the inside. But when you have a Mobius strip, one of the properties of it is that, again, you're taking a circle, but before you make a circle, you flip it over and then you attach it. If I start drawing a line, I don't finish making a line until the entire outside and the entire inside has the line on it, and I've never lifted up my pen. Do you understand how strange that is? Again, if it's a normal circle, if I'm just making a line, it's just on the outside, it's not on the inside. If it's a Mobius strip, without ever picking up my pen from the paper, it's going to be a line that's the entire outside and the entire inside. So Chaim is giving this to me. Here would be like a normal circle, but it should be a little bit longer, or a little thinner.
Mobius strip 101.
So here you go, but now it's like this. That's a Mobius strip. Like that. And if I start drawing a line, it's going to cover the outside and the inside without me ever picking up my pen. There's like this weird infinity thing going on over here.
It would color the inside and the outside of the entire thing?
Of the entire thing.
Without lifting up?
Without lifting up my pen.
On the inside and the outside.
Hey, can we see the outside?
He has them with his fingers.
Well, imagine it's taped shut.
Yeah, this is taped shut.
It's half
Yeah.
half and half outside, half.
It's like it's outside and inside. It's inside out all at once.
We have earrings that we call double vision.
If you ever see the artwork of MCS, you'll see the stare, the Mobius stare. It's
Yes.
You're continuously at the same place. You have the whole universe.
So again, why are we talking about Mobius strips? Because of the first pasuk here. It says, Yitzchak is the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Yitzchak.
Oh, the Mobius strip.
So what does that mean? So he's going to tell you how this is talking about the actual X-ray of the universe in terms of divine energy. Okay? So basically it's like this. The idea is like this. We have the highest light of all the heavens. That's a realm called Atzilus. So that's like the top of heaven. So the question is, he asks a very good question. What's all that light doing up there? What's the purpose of all that light? Like, you wouldn't think to ask such a question. And he says the purpose of all of that light is so that it can shine down below. But there's a problem. When the highest light is shining down below, it will vaporize everything below it. In other words, how are you going to get that light above down below without absolutely eradicating all of creation. In other words, another way of saying this is, how can the finite, meaning this world, exist in the infinite? Why doesn't the infinite light completely obliterate the finite? Or if you want an even more concrete example, imagine someone is thirsty and I say, would you like a drink of water? And they say yes. And I take an industrial fire hose and I turn it on like a foot from their face.
It's a really good metaphor.
And they get thrown across the room. And they don't get any water. That's the idea of how are you going to get the light from above, which is only there to come below. It's the only reason why it's there to begin with, in order to shine below. But how are you going to get the higher light down below? What is the higher light? What is the highest light? It's called chesed. Or it's called chachma. We're going to look at it in two different ways. So, chesed is Abraham. How are we going to get the Abraham and the chesed to the world? And the answer is Yitzchak. Yitzchak is going to be the delivery system through which the Abraham, the Chesed, the highest light of the world, is going to be able to enter into the world without obliterating the world. Now, the conventional way of saying this is with the word tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means that light gets compressed. So that it's not this giant ocean of light that's just going to drown everyone, but that tzimtzum is going to be this agency which compacts the light so that we can receive it in a way. But the word tzimtzum has another word, which is the same word basically as tzimtzum. And that word is gevura. So who is, if Chesed is Abraham, who is Gevurah? Gevurah is Yitzchak. So now let's go into the pasuk. Yitzchak is the son of Abraham. Yitzchak is only there. Gevurah is only there in the world. Hard times are only there in the world in order to compress the light and to make a channel for the higher light to come down. Now, he's giving the answer to the question that everybody has in their life. Why are things so hard? Why do things go wrong? Why is there pain and suffering in the world? All of these things are under the category of the word gevurah. If God is good, that means that everything that comes from God is good. So then what are all these issues that we have to struggle with? All of those things are delivery systems through which the good comes. So Yitzchak is the son of Abraham. Gevurah, tzimtzum, is only there in order to allow Abraham to come into the world. And then it says Abraham gives birth to Yitzchak. Now he's going to say something else, which is also amazing, which is that Abraham is chesed. Chesed gives birth to Gevurah, which means that Gevurah is another form of chesed. That is a very big idea. In other words, it's not just that Yitzchak and Gevurah and Simsim are there in order to deliver Abraham into the world. No. Abraham gives birth to Yitzchak, which means that Yitzchak is also chesed. That Gevurah is also chesed. Because Gevurah is that very thing which allows the chesed to come down. Which means that the delivery system of chesed is also chesed. And that's what this means. Yitzchak is the son of Abraham. Gevurah allows chesed to enter into the world. Abraham begat Yitzchak. Abraham gives birth to Yitzchak, meaning chesed makes more chesed. Gevurah is just another form of chesed. Okay. Now, I've been learning Torah every day now for let's see, 87, 97, 2000, 2017, 3. Every day now for 38 years.
Ooh.
And I can tell you that for a large amount of those 38 years, I longed to have someone explain one thing to me, which is, can you please, God, please send me someone who can explain to me in a way that I can understand what the dot inside the Beis of Breshis means. What is the dot inside the Beis of Breshit? That was probably my biggest question. And he explains it. He's going to give an explanation, and I'm sure it's more than this and more than I'll ever understand. But I'm going to give you two different models. And I'm going to call the first model the static model of creation, and I'm going to call the second model the dynamic model of creation. And you're going to get an explanation of the dot inside the Beis of Bereshis. Now, we talked about it last time we were together, but now I'm going to give much more of an overview and something I think much easier to hold on to, I hope. In the static model of Bereshis, and this is kind of what we talked about last time, the Beis of Bereshis, that Beis also can be darshaned as bayit. So that the Beis of Bereshis means, Beis stands for house, because this entire world is a house. Okay, so then what's the dot inside the Beis? The dot inside the Beis is the letter Yud. And in Kabbalah terms, Yud means Chachma, which is the highest wisdom, like beyond this world, beyond this universe, is Chachma. Right? God is making the whole world out of Chachma. So what happens is, you've got the Beis of Breshit, which stands for a house, which stands for this world. And the Yud of Chachma, which is the greatest universal wisdom beyond the universe level of wisdom, like a flying saucer, is landing on this helipad, which is the Beis of Breshit. Wisdom is landing into this world. The divine wisdom, the Torah, is landing into this world. That's the dot inside the Beis of Breshit. That's what I would call the static model. Okay? Now let's do the dynamic model. The dynamic model is crazy deep. This is really something, okay? Basically, in this model, the Beis of Breshit stands for Bina. Okay, so let's just understand for a moment what Bina is. You've got 10 Sfirot, and you've got the top three is Keter, Chachma, and Bina. And then you have the lower 7 Sfirot, which really are like this material universe. So Bina, which can be translated as understanding, what Bina is it's hovering above this world, and it includes the entirety of this world. So it's really interesting, because again, the 10 Sfirot, you've got the top 3 and the bottom 7, but Bina is situated right on the borderline so that it's going to encompass the top 3, and it's also going to encompass the bottom 7. It's basically going to be that area of the borderline of the infinite and the finite, where the infinite enters into the finite. That's going to be Bina. Chachma is already the level of the infinite. Okay? So now, again, the dot inside the Beis of Breshit, the dot represents Chachma, which is the infinite, and the Beis represents Bina, which is going to be making the infinite more finite. Okay? Or, let's put it into the terms the way Rabbi Smile said it, which is very easy to understand. Bina is the squeezer, and Chachma is the squeezee. Chachma, the dot inside the Beis, is what's squeezed, and Bina is the one squeezing it. So now we're back to this model of Tzimtzum, aren't we? We're back to this idea that Bina is squeezing Chachma in order to make it fit into this world in some form, so that we can access Chachma. But now, let's just think about it for a moment, because this idea of Bina squeezing Chachma, that there's an infinite light in this world, and it's getting squeezed so that we can get the juice, this is a dynamic, ongoing process in creation. In other words, let's contrast the models. We have the two models now. The first model I'm calling the static model. The Beis stands for Bayit, which is this world, and like a spaceship, Chachma is landing in this world, in the middle of the Beis. Done. The end of the process. Now we have some Chachma in this world. It's called the Torah. We've got the Beis of Breshit. Let's roll. Okay? Very good. This next model is far out, because it's showing you that the first letter of the Torah is something that's ongoing, and it doesn't stop, because what it represents is the world being created and recreated every single nanosecond. It's this ongoing process where the infinite is being digested so that we can receive in a way that we can actually understand the highest wisdom. It's this ongoing thing, you know. When you say the blessing of the Torah, you say, Notein HaTorah. That means God who is giving us the Torah in the present tense. Not God who gave us the Torah at Mount Sinai 3,300 years ago. You see the present tense of the Torah in the Beis of Breshit, because Bina is squeezing Chachma And it keeps on squeezing it and keeps on squeezing it, and it never stops squeezing it. So that we can receive the highest light at all times. If you think about this, and you really meditate on what I'm telling you, it's crazy. This is like crazy deep. Because you realize that it's sort of like the Beis of Breshit, it's like you're picking up the lid, the hood, you're looking under the hood of the universe, and you're seeing the actual engine informing the entire nuclear generator, the core fusion generator that's keeping the universe going. Is this Beis digesting this dot inside of it, Bina making Chachma available on this ongoing basis like this. And it doesn't stop. Now, on one level, we live within the boundaries of time, which means on one level, it's landed. But when you're Avraham HaMalach, and you look deeper into it, you realize that that is basically the formula for perpetual motion, perpetual creation. And it's right there at the beginning of the Torah. In other words, you can't get past the first letter of the Torah. Forget about the first word of the Torah. You literally can't get past the first letter of the Torah. Now just end with this, which as I was thinking to myself, if you went up to most people, right, and you said to them, what came first? Remember, like, this is crazy. It's crazy because once you have this, you can keep on digging. You know, we have the letter Beis, which you all know what that looks like. It's got the dot in the middle. But you want to hear something crazy? We also have a vase, which doesn't have a dot in the middle. So the first letter of the Torah is a Beis, and it's not a vase. And I've told you in the name of the Avstrafzer Rebbe, but he may have gotten it from a medrash, I don't know, that the first letter of the Torah, we know is a Beis, which is the number 2, stands for free choice, which means you can do this or you can do that. You can be a Beis, meaning to say you can be a house that holds wisdom, or you can be a vase, which means you're a house which holds emptiness. The very first letter is giving you a choice. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a repository and a vessel to receive wisdom, to advance creation? Or do you want to be a vessel for emptiness and nothingness? So the very first letter of the Torah is telling you, be a Beis and not a vase. Be a vessel for wisdom and not a vessel for nothingness. Not only that, but I was thinking, the word levavcha, love God with all of your hearts, has 2 vases. And we know that the Chachamim say, why does it have 2 vases? Because you have 2 hearts. You have a positive inclination and a negative inclination. In other words, you have a vase with a dot inside of it, and you have a vase with nothing inside of it. So there are all these incredible lessons. And then I started thinking, what came first? The vase or the dot inside the vase? In other words, if I were to ask you, what is the first letter of the Torah? What came first, the dot inside the bays or the letter vase? And I think that the answer is the dot inside, because that's the heavenly wisdom coming down. Remember, that's the letter Yud. What is the first letter Yud of creation? It's the makshava, it's the thought God had to create the world. So now do you understand? We're talking about stripping creation down to its most fundamental level. It's not even the first letter of creation that's a base. Now we realize that everything begins with the first dot. So God takes that first dot, and then he turns it into the first point. So God takes his first thought of creation, and then he turns it into the first physical point of creation. And then creation expands from there. Now listen to this. The Zohar calls that dot inside the base of Breshit. God hurled a huge stone down, and that stone drinks from the waters above. Meaning to say that when you connect with wisdom, wisdom is that thing that allows you not just to be a mensch and a chacham in this world, but to stay connected to the divine and to continue to drink from the fountains of the water above.